Welcome to Vegas Hockey Hub here in the sports entertainment capital of the world, Las Vegas, Nevada. Here on PRConnectionsRadio.com, the voice of new media. I'm your host, Ian Rickelli. The Vegas Golden Knights have been very successful. The Vegas Golden Knights have been very well in their franchise history. But one aspect that most people don't really take into consideration is who has made Vegas into who they are. Who are the players for your Vegas Golden Knights who you could say have been a benchmark? You could say have been the best for the Vegas. Who have been the four who have laid the foundation for Vegas? So as we're going to pose the question, as you see right there, who are the four pillars of the Vegas Golden Knights? Who are the four players who built Vegas? Who are the four players that really help cement and really plant Vegas into a good situation? Now, before anybody says something, I'm actually going to be bringing this up right now. What is a pillar, you might be asking? Well, a pillar is a person or thing regarded as reliably providing essential support for something. All right, that is what we're going to be talking about here. So, who are the four pillars of Vegas Golden Knights? Well, we got to start out with a guy who's been a captain. We have to start out with a guy who's not only likable, but a player who has been with Vegas since day one. We have to go with a guy who has cemented himself as a long-term solution in Vegas. And that guy is Riley Smith, who's the current alternate captain of the Vegas Golden Knights. Now, to give you a little bit of context when it comes to Riley Smith, you have to remember how Vegas got Riley Smith. How did he get to Vegas? Thomas, by the way, I appreciate you being in the chat. I see you right there. Please like the show, and thank you. Yeah, absolutely, Thomas. I appreciate your support. You've always been a good supporter of what I do. So Riley Smith has been a good player for Vegas. But how he got to Vegas is an interesting story. Now, he played college hockey at Miami, Ohio. All right, he plays university ball there. He goes over and he joins the Dallas Stars. They drafted him in 2009. And with Dallas, he only plays 2 seasons in Dallas before getting traded to Boston. And actually a very interesting deal that most people don't talk about now. Back in 2013, the Dallas Stars traded him, Louis Eriksson, Matt Frazier, and Joe Murrow, and they traded him to Boston for a package that's centered around current captain of the Dallas Stars, Tyler Seguin. I mean, he was a vital part of that trade that happened back then. He also ended up having a situation where Riley Smith ended up becoming a vital part of the bottom 6 down there in Boston. In fact, he had a couple of seasons where he played for the Boston Bruins and was actually part of their run in 2014-2015. So he spent 2 seasons in Boston. He spent 2 seasons in Dallas. And then he gets flipped to the Florida Panthers for the contract of Jimmy Hayes. So Jimmy Hayes and him get flipped. He goes to Florida. And it's an interesting twist. He actually ends up having a great tenure in Florida. Not only did he have a 25-point season in 2015, but he also ended up having 40 goals in his 2 seasons with the Florida Panthers. He was on the top 6 in Florida. And more importantly, when it came to Riley Smith, this was a guy who provided value time and time again. So fast forward to the 2017 NHL expansion draft. Florida did not expose Riley Smith. Instead, Florida made a very unfortunate decision. Florida traded Riley Smith alongside Jonathan Marchessault in the expansion draft. Riley Smith was not a draft pick. He was a trade, so Florida would not have to have somebody taken Instead, they had Riley Smith and Marchessault be taken instead. So Riley Smith, he goes in the expansion draft in 2017, and his statistics really back up why he was a vital part of Vegas. As you see right here, not only did he have 60 points in his first season in Vegas, not only did he get his career high that season when he first came to Vegas, but he backed it up by having another near 20-goal season. The next season, he has 27 goals, the most goals he scored in his career in a single season up to that point. 54 games, in 71 games. And then he had 25 points in a shortened 2020-2021 season. And then he backed that up with a 16-goal, 38-point season in 2021-2022. And so far, Riley Smith has had 10 points in the early beginning of the 2022 season for Vegas. He is averaging a 0.75 points per game for Vegas in the 2022 season. Now, Riley Smith's total stats in Vegas is what's so important. Not only has he had over 100 goals since being a Vegas Golden Knight, not only has he been over 200 points since being a Vegas Golden Knight, but just analyze real quick, plus 80, and has been an alternate captain since 2017. Riley Smith has been valuable, and he has provided crucial information to Vegas. He has been crucial to the top six in Vegas. It didn't matter if it was the first line in 2017, 2018, and 2019, or if it was an influx of the first and second line in 2020 and 2021, or if he has supplanted himself on the second line in 2022. Riley Smith is a top six forward in the NHL. He is a top six forward in Vegas. And he has been the alternate captain of the Vegas Golden Knights all 6 years he has been in Vegas. I mean, this is a guy in Riley Smith who every single year has been valuable. He has been credible. He has been an anchor to Vegas. Or in other words, he has been a pillar to Vegas. He is part of the foundation of Vegas. So Riley Smith being a vital part of Vegas is something you have to definitely discuss. But the other guy you also have to discuss is Wild Bill. William Karlsson has been a fan favorite of Vegas for a long time. Really ever since he stepped foot in the NHL as a member of the Vegas Golden Knights, he has been a fan favorite. He has been somebody the fans can just grab onto. Now, not only was William Karlsson a second-round pick in 2011, not only was William Karlsson a former second-round pick, but his journey to get to Vegas is exceptional. This was a guy in William Karlsson that got traded to Columbus alongside a second-round pick and Rene Bourque to Columbus for James Wisniewski. And then he actually spends a few seasons in Columbus, but he was not great in Columbus. As a matter of fact, there was no stat in Columbus that showed you he was going to be a great player in Vegas. As a matter of fact, in 3 seasons before coming to Vegas, he had a total of 50 points and 18 goals. So what did he have once he got to Vegas? What did he have once he got to T-Mobile Arena and got to be part of Vegas? Well, not only did he put up the best season statistically in Vegas Golden Knights history, but he also earned a nice payday because of it. He had a 78-point season in year 1. He had a 56-point season in year 2. He had a 46-point season in year 3. And yes, I understand that the last 2 seasons for William Karlsson hasn't been as great as what year 1 was. 14 goals in 2020, 12 goals in 2021. But what he has done in 2022, however, has been exceptional. In 2022, he has actually had 4 goals in the first dozen games for Vegas. William Karlsson's actually showing a little bit of a resurgence in Vegas this past season. So his total stats you have right in front of you. 112 goals, 152 assists, 264 points, and a plus 87. I also want to keep in mind that he won the Lady Byng Trophy for the most gentleman player in the NHL. I also definitely appreciate, the fact that, William Karlsson, he kind of found his edge again. William Karlsson, ever since Bruce Cassidy came to Las Vegas, he is now on the second line. People thought that he was going to be a middle six forward for Vegas. Honestly, I thought that was going to be the same way too. I genuinely believed William Karlsson was going to be a middle six forward for Vegas. But his actions over the beginning of 2022 has really shown Vegas Hockey Hub that William Karlsson can become a top 6 forward once again. That William Karlsson, the guy that's right here, that was a 78-point season. But what he is now, as you see right there, he is a guy that you're going to put in your top 6, and he is going to get you, let's just say, ballpark figure, let's say that William Karlsson will get you around 55 points on the year. That William Karlsson will get more than 20 goals this year. Like, if you have a guy like William Karlsson, if he has 23 goals, 32 assists for 55 points, I think that'd be a very good season if you're William Karlsson. Same with Riley Smith. A lot of people don't want to talk about it, but if Riley Smith on the top 6, if he has a season where he has, for example, if he only has 18 goals, but he has 35 assists, that'd be a 52-point season. So if you're Riley Smith, having a 50-point season, that would be showing that you're a top 6 forward in the NHL. If you are William Karlsson, if you can somehow get back to being a 50 to 55-point season, that will show you are a top 6 forward in the NHL. See, William Karlsson and Riley Smith have shown that they are consistent. They rarely miss games, by the way. William Karlsson, 363 games. Riley Smith, over 300. I mean, William Karlsson has been reliable. I mean, there's a reason why William Karlsson, he did not miss a single game in 2017, 2018, and in 2020. I mean, he had a 3-year run where he played every single game in Vegas, which is just incredible. Another guy who's incredible is the guy we got to talk about now. And that is the all-star in Vegas. That is the guy who has been the leading scorer for Vegas. And that is Jonathan Marchessault. Now, once again, Jonathan Marchessault is a story of, if you see his stats before coming to Vegas, he was not special at all. But once he got to Vegas, he took off. Okay, he plays with Columbus for 1 season before going to Tampa Bay. After he goes to Tampa Bay, gets traded to Tampa Bay, he then goes to Florida. He signs as a free agent there. And it is 1 season in Florida when he had 51 points in 2017. Florida made the irresponsible decision of trading Jonathan Marchessault, exposing Jonathan Marchessault, and letting him be taken in the 2017 expansion draft by Vegas. Hey, I want to ask everyone who's watching right now, if you are an NHL franchise and you just had a guy who had 30 goals, 51 points in a single season, would you expose them in an expansion draft? If you were a team like Florida, would you have exposed a guy like Jonathan Marchessault using hindsight? Because Jonathan Marchessault, his statistics in Vegas have shown that he was a great player, and Florida royally messed up. So his first season in Vegas, he had 48 assists for 75 points. This was a guy in Jonathan Marchessault who had a plus 36 in year one. His second year, he plays an entire season, did not miss a single game. 25 goals, 59 points, and racked up over 50 penalty minutes. A lot of people forget that Jonathan Marchessault is a guy who could scrap. There's plenty of people who forget that Jonathan Marchessault can drop the gloves if he has to. That next season, the season where they was shortened, he played all but one game that year and had 22 goals, 47 points, and had a plus 6. In fact, I have a statistic for you you're going to find amazing in a second. And then lastly, that 2020-2021 season, he had a little bit of a step back, 18 goals, 44 points. But remember, that was a shortened 2020 season. So if he actually would have played 82 games, he would have actually scored 71 points that year. So him being on a 71-point pace, that's actually quite impressive. And he had a plus 19 in that shortened 2020 season. And then lastly, in 2021, he had 30 goals, 66 points, and was an all-star for Vegas. And so far, we're a dozen games in for Vegas. And they have scored 6 goals for 10 points in a dozen games for Vegas. And here's a fascinating statistic I mentioned earlier, I'm going to mention now. Jonathan Marchessault has had a positive plus-minus every single year he's been in Vegas. So a guy that had a negative 10 and a negative 21 before coming to Vegas has had a positive plus-minus every single year he has been in Vegas. All 7 seasons that he has been, Jonathan Marchessault has had a positive plus-minus every single season. As a matter of fact, if you really just want to talk about it real quick, his total stats in Vegas is remarkable. 370 games played, 128 goals, 173 assists, over 300 points, and a plus 69. Nice. And 197 penalty minutes. And like I said before, when the Vegas Golden Knights had their All-Star game at the T-Mobile Arena, Jonathan Marchessault was Vegas representative at that All-Star game. In fact, it was incredible. You had Pietrangelo, you had Marchessault. They were the 2 All-Stars that represented Vegas in Las Vegas. So, I really said, those are your 3 pillars, right? You have Riley Smith. You have Jonathan Marchessault. You have William Karlsson. But who's next, right? I talked about the line that's been together for majority of their time, right? I discussed the fact that I talked about in great length how that line has been incredible ever since getting to Vegas. But who's the 4th pillar for Vegas? Who is the 4th and final pillar of the Vegas Golden Knights, right? I talked about Marchessault, I talked about Karlsson, I talked about Smith. So who could it be? Who could be the 4th and final person to help build the Vegas Golden Knights? Who is the 4th and final player who helped establish and help cement the Vegas Golden Knights as a franchise? Well, how about we talk about a guy who at one point was the future of Vegas and then became an anchor of Vegas? How about defenseman Shea Theodore? Because there's a lot of people who forget that Shea Theodore, when he got here, he was a young 22-year-old. He was a young 22-year-old who was a prospect. He was a 22-year-old who was tossed aside by Anaheim. Anaheim gave up Shea Theodore because they didn't want to give up Josh Manson. By anybody who remembers that, that's actually 100% accurate. The Anaheim Ducks exposed Clayton Stoner and had to give up Shea Theodore as a trade because the Vegas Golden Knights wanted defenseman Josh Manson. Vegas wanted another defenseman, but because Anaheim was stubborn, they gave up 22-year-old Shea Theodore in the deal. Well, if you actually consider how Josh Manson's career is doing now, and considering how Shea Theodore's career is doing now, I think Vegas benefited from that deal. Now, Shea Theodore, his first season, you really can't talk about. Only 6 goals, 29 points in 61 games. You know, he really didn't do much in year one. He was a rookie. He was on the bottom line. You know, +5. He really didn't do much. Year 2, he was sloppy on defense. He had -4. But he had 12 goals, 37 points, and he played all but 3 games. In 2019-2020, he played in every single game, had 46 points, and a +12 for Vegas. So Shea Theodore got better and better every single year he was in the league. Once again, that shortened 2020 season, he had 42 points in 53 games. If anybody wants to factor that in, if it was a full 82-game season, he would have had 73 points if it was a full 82-game season. And then lastly, the 2021 season, in 78 games, he had 14 goals, 52 points, and a +6. And in a very young 2022 season, Shea Theodore, 9 points in a dozen games, and a +11, which leads the entire NHL in plus-minus. So Shea Theodore's stats in 6 seasons with Vegas: 355 games played, 56 goals, 215 points, and look at that, +58 for a young defenseman. For a guy who got bashed his first 2 seasons for not playing defense. There was a guy that I knew, I'm not going to say his name, but he always bashed Shea Theodore whenever I was around him. He would always talk negatively about Shea Theodore. Well, as time has gone on, Shea Theodore has gotten better and better. And actually, I think that's pretty great. So Shea Theodore has done pretty good. Jonathan Marchessault right there has done pretty good. And William Karlsson has done pretty good. I also want to acknowledge the other people in this photo, by the way. Nicholas Waugh has been phenomenal in the bottom 6. Yeah, there's Shea Theodore scoring against Montreal. Yeah, whatever. But Keegan Kolesar has done phenomenal. Riley Smith, like I talked about earlier in the show. And then you also have right there, you really can't see him. That's Brett Howden. That's number 21. He's been a solid member of the middle 6. So Shea Theodore has become a valuable part of Vegas. And the reason why I say that he is the future of Vegas is because he is the youngest out of the 4. Shea Theodore is only 27 years old. Jonathan Marchessault is 31 years old. William Karlsson is exactly 29. And Riley Smith is actually on the back end there. He's at 31. So all the guys that are in that part of that pillar are in their late 20s, early 30s. Whereas Shea Theodore is still on the young side. He is still developing. He is still progressing as a defenseman in the NHL. So Shea Theodore is going to be part of Vegas' future, hopefully, for a long time. And speaking of contract, by the way, for anybody who wants to know how long this pillar, the 4 pillars of the Vegas Golden Knights, are going to be together. Well, that situation is very simple. When it comes to Vegas, William Karlsson will be here until 2027. Jonathan Marchessault until 2024. Riley Smith until 2025. And Shea Theodore until 2025. So you have 3 to 4 years of team control for your pillars. you have a situation where Shea Theodore and Jonathan Marchessault and Riley Smith, those guys are going to be free agents in 2 to 3 years. William Karlsson will be 5 years. So the question you really have to ask yourself is, if you're Vegas, by the time Jonathan Marchessault becomes a free agent, how are you going to give him an extension? By the time Riley Smith and Shea Theodore become a free agent, how much of a tenure and how much length are they going to give those guys? And when William Karlsson's contract is up, will he sign a 1-year deal, stay in Vegas? Will he sign a 2-year deal, stay in Vegas? We'll always have to find that out. We have about 4 minutes left here on the show, so I want to very quickly talk about Vegas right now. Because there is one player I want to talk about real quick. An honorable mention, if you will. Brandon McNabb has been part of Vegas since day one. And Brandon McNabb, I thought, could be a player for Vegas. But Shea Theodore has been a bigger impact than Brandon McNabb has been. But let's not forget that Brandon McNabb has had a positive plus-minus every year he's been in Vegas. Brandon McNabb has had an incredible tenure in Vegas. He had 15 points in year 1, 16 points in year 2, only missed 1 game that year. He did not miss a single game in the shortened 2020 season. He had 9 points that year. He had 8 points in an injury-riddled 2020 season, and then had 18 points in a 69 games in 2021. So I had to very quickly give a shout-out to Brandon McNabb because, yes, he is an honorable mention here. Unfortunately, Brandon McNabb, I just couldn't put him on there because I think Shea Theodore is a better defenseman overall. But I wanted to include him real quick because, yes, he's had 4 points in a dozen games so far. Been part of Vegas since day one. And when it comes to Brandon McNabb, I do think he is a valuable part of Vegas. So, when you really talk about Vegas as a whole, there's a lot of players you could talk about, players you could discuss. But those are really the 4 guys you really got to talk about. Now, we have about 2 minutes left, so I want to talk about this real quick. Shout out to everybody at PR Connections Radio, the voice of new media. You got Cozy Stone. She does amazing interviews. You have We Got the Power of Brian Gardner. You, of course, have The Love of Business. You also have So You Want to Be a ... And also the Professional podcast. You have you also have a bunch of other great shows that are on there that I can't talk about at the moment. And I also want to give a shout out to Guy Dawson because he is the founder and the creator of PR Connections Radio. If it wasn't for him, this show would not exist. So I want to give a shout out to him. And I also want to give a little bit of a preview because tomorrow's show for Vegas, the show we're going to be discussing for the future, is really an interesting thing because what we're going to be discussing in a future show is I will be going over a very interesting topic with the Vegas Golden Knights. And I'm actually going to be going into a lot of detail about Vegas. And there's a certain topic I really want to get in this topic about. But you have to stay tuned for tomorrow's show to find out. So, this is Vegas Hockey Hub. I'm your host, Ian Rickelli. Follow me on social media at Ian Rickelli18. Follow the show at Vegas Hockey Hub. And until next time, continue supporting junior hockey. Continue watching hockey. Go Knights, go. And I'll see everyone next time.